Awesome. Hello. Oh my goodness. So many great, great teachers here from all over the place. Know that we are talking about early literacy tasks for remote learning. So just want to put that out there. This is primary education. Now I'll tell you that there are plenty of things I will share today that will be appropriate for learners of all ages. But I'll tell you, kindergarten teachers, first grade teachers out there, I've been in that seat. I've been in the seat where you've been in the PD thinking, yeah, that's an interesting tool, but my kids don't read yet. Have you been in that PD? Or maybe you've been in some PD and thought, that sounds interesting, but what about social emotional development? What about fine motor development? What about classroom management? What about all those very unique considerations that come along with teaching young children? It's a real thing. And sometimes, I'll be honest, kindergarten teachers get a bad rap in PD because it's not because we're not paying attention or because we don't agree. It's because in our mind we're translating, because so oftentimes you're in PD that is designed for middle school, high school, and you're trying to think, okay, right? So just so you know, today, my name is Susan Stewart, and I do hail from the land of sunshine and rainbows. Before my current role as a instructional technology teacher on special assignment, say that 10 times fast, I taught kindergarten and second grade. So I do come from experience of teaching early learners. Today we are talking about the Google Suite, primarily Google, early literacy tasks for remote learning with Google, right? So we're talking about that. If you want to find me on the internet, my handle is @TechCoachSusan. I'm Susan. I'm a tech coach and I'm not very original, right? So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the Google Suite. And of course, these are two words that, we've become more accustomed to in the past several months, but I want to make sure I bring them up too, because these are two words that define teaching online, right? They just kind of wrap around teaching online. When we talk about synchronous and asynchronous instruction, right? Teaching online, synchronous, asynchronous instruction. Synchronous instruction, learning, that's what we're doing right now, right? We're all in the same place, learning together. The tool I'm using to teach, of course, is Google Slides. I've prepared my lesson. I have my content. We have this channel of dialogue we can do there. And Adam, I see, has posted my Twitter profile. You'll find all of the most current resources right there on the Twitter profile. And but synchronously, we're learning together, same time, same path, same pace. Asynchronous instruction is something else you can do with Google. Now, sometimes you might use something like Google Meet to do your synchronous instruction. Other people use Zoom. You might use Microsoft Teams. At the end of the day, I kind of liken that to Honda and Toyota and Ford, right? They all get you there. So whether you're using Meet or you're using Teams or you're using Zoom, synchronous instruction, you usually have some kind of tool to do that. And in asynchronous instruction, there's lots of ways to make that happen too. Sometimes it's Google Classroom. Sometimes you post resources, students access them in their own time. And sometimes you might use a Bitmoji Classroom, or you might use some other LMS like Schoology, or there's lots of ways. But for today, we're really going to be talking about the Google versions of those things, teaching online. Of course, synchronous being like this, right? It's that idea of everyone together, same time, same path. But if you teach kindergarten, you know that synchronous online instruction really looks like this. Anyone have an experience like this of kindergarten, first grade on Zoom for the first time? Absolutely, right? So synchronous learning, it is a challenge, but we got this. I want to tell a story here of my own daughter's teacher. That's my daughter there in the corner. She is sitting in her class in their Google Meet. And the lady across the bottom, her name is Mrs. Tenosian, and Mrs. Tenosian, shout out, she was teaching her tush off, right? She was modeling writing. She was reading stories. She would hold up books. She'd put on silly hats. She was teaching the best she absolutely could through that window of Google Meet. In the morning, they'd come in and they'd have their whole class meeting. They'd talk, they'd say hello, they'd wave at each other, right? They'd get started, and then she'd say, okay, guys, it's time to learn. So she would switch it to a presentation and she'd start direct teaching. Again, sometimes it was annotating text. Sometimes it was doing different writing. So these grade 2 students, these second graders, would have their whole class meeting every day. Now then, they would come back at different points during the day for some small group instruction. She'd have set times when kids would come back and she'd meet with those small groups for some guided reading, for some individual phonics practice. Sometimes she'd meet with individual students. She'd have open office hours when they can come in and just check in with her. And then, of course, she used it for parent connections. And I'll tell you, that was really important because about every other week, there would be an opportunity where parents can come in and just say hi, chat, and having that time for parents to have community was just it was really important because parents being in the same space, sometimes they don't know what questions to ask. And just hearing the questions that other parents asked gave them that place to kind of get more information. So I really loved the way she used Google Meet right there. As I continue on, again, if you want to know more about Google Meet and all the tools I'm going to say today, that the Google Teacher Training Center, like there's resources. You can go step by step through this. So my goal today is to give you an overview of a lot of Google tools and how that looks with remote learning, but know that you can go deeper with any of these resources there. Because right now, I want to talk about a tool, and that's called Jamboard. So when I say Google Jamboard, I wonder, on a range from 0, never heard of this lady, to 5, I create and share Jamboards with my learners all the time. I'm going to see what it looks like when I ask a question like that in a panel with 1,000 people. What? Oh, this is crazy. Oh, so there's a big range from 0. I see a lot more on the 0, 1 than, wow. Very cool. Awesome. Love it. Look at that. Oh, wow. Very cool. So Jamboard, let's talk about what it is first. It's a tool by Google. It's a part of the Google Suite. Now, some of you may not know that it is free. Sometimes people say, oh, we don't have one of those, because that is a reality. A Jamboard is a software. It's a tool you can use, but it's actually a physical thing. You can buy a Jamboard too, much like a Smartboard or a Promethean board, right? There's a physical Jamboard as well as the software Jamboard. So today we're going to be looking at it as the software, the program, not the physical Jamboard, right? And I'll tell you why we use Jamboard, because me, as an elementary school teacher especially, sometimes I would need to show something on the internet, like while I was teaching remotely, and I would hold something up and be like, hey guys, can you see it okay? Is it all right? Is it backwards, right? Like, hey guys, like that's what teaching online sometimes felt like. As an elementary teacher, I know how important it is for kids to watch me write, model the writing, not just show writing, but the letter formation as we go. So we found ourselves in need of a tool to display writing, right? And since we're in the Googleverse, right? We live in the Googleverse in our district. Jamboard was brought up as a way that we could just use a whiteboard. At a simple base early level, it was a way for me to present my screen. And Rachel, who asked, can this be used in Teams? Absolutely, because I'm displaying my screen, right? It can be used in a lot of different tools. It's not just a Google tool. Any one of those tools, Zoom, Meet, WebEx, right? If you can present your screen, you can present your Jamboard. So at a base level, it was a whiteboard tool for synchronous instruction, right? Whiteboard tool, synchronous instruction. Also know that everything I'm telling you, I'm just going to front load with the idea, it can be used asynchronously too. I'll talk more about that soon, but let's just talk about Jamboard for synchronous instruction. I'm going to play a Jamboard, and I'm going to tell you that most of the time I don't do this with 1,000 of my dearest friends watching live, but I do have a couple of friends who are going to play along with me, and I'm going to get out of the present mode in there. I'm going to go into a Jamboard, and let me go ahead and do that, and here I am, and I'm going to have my friends jump into this Jamboard with me. Friends, you ready? And I'm going to show you a Jamboard in action. So again, as I look at this, I see some basic things. I see some tools over on the far left-hand side. I have a handful of tools. I'll zoom in on those so you can see. There's a pen, there's an eraser, there's a pointy tool. The sticky note is the one we're going to use in just a minute. I'll demonstrate for that. But on a base level, I can show my screen, and it's a way for me to integrate text and drawing and images. I love that it doesn't have a lot of buttons, because one thing about something like Google Slides or other tools, if there's too many buttons with your kindergartners, guess what? They push them, right? So it's really nice for me to have just a limited number of buttons my students can push. Also, and I can see my friend is clicking on things. Awesome. And I can go ahead and head on over here, and I want to have a quick vote. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a sticky tab. I'm going to demonstrate this, and then I'm going to have my friends join with me. If I was doing this live for the first time, I'm going to show you a scaffold for the first time, but I'm going to go ahead and just do first. I want to have a quick vote. And when I do this with young learners, I'm going to keep it really simple, simply because low cognitive load, right? The first time I do a new task, I don't want it to be something they have to think too much about. Let's keep it easy to start. So in my first one, I'm just going to click on the sticky note and I'll type my name. And if I want, I can change the color. And if I want, depending on my device, oftentimes devices have emoji keyboards. So I'll go ahead because, you know, young learners, images, why not with the emoji? So I could just go ahead and cast my name and I can keep it simple and say, are you team cat or are you team dog, right? Like I just want to make sure I keep it simple. So my friends now, if I had other people in here, I could say, okay, guys, go ahead, click on the sticky. So I have a handful of friends in here. Now some questions have been asked and I want to talk about that. In this particular one, my friends, go ahead and add your name, cast your vote to what you think is team cat or team dog, and I'll let my friends jump in there. Students can post sticky notes, and the reason why they can is because I've shared it to them in a way that they can edit. They can edit this. So I see Patton has cast her vote, and she'll drag her sticky to decide, is she team cat or team dog? Oh, and so then other people, again, anyone I've provided the link. In this situation, I haven't given you all the link because we'd probably blow Jamboard up, but it can have up to 50 live contributors at a time, right? So depending on what team you're on, you know, you would cast your vote. Now, the first time with TK kids, I have an idea for you because you're like, even that simple thing where they come on over and they click on the link and cast their vote. So the great questions there, right? I want students to be able to use the link and be part of the Zoom. There is some kind of back and forth, especially on the iPads, that navigation, having them click on a link. I just have to you know, reinforce, hey guys, you're not going to see me for a minute. Go on over there and we're going to be in, you can still hear me, but we're going to be over in Jamboard. It's okay. So that navigation between tabs is something that you're definitely going to get started on early on, but I see that my friends are casting a vote. I'm going to go to the next page though. And I'm going to switch to this here, this scaffold, and my friends are going to join me on frame 2, and that's what we call Jamboards. We call them frames. And I see here that I've pre-populated their names on there. Why have I done that? Both with really little ones the first time, maybe just simply being able to click on this and slide it to their vote. So maybe if Kansas and Patton want to come to frame 2 and cast their vote, you can see that they could slide their name into place, and that would allow them to do this. So we can click, they cast their vote. You see how that might be a scaffold for the first time in K or 1, how to do that, keeping it really simple. Question, has this work with Chromebooks and not tablets? Absolutely, it's just a website, they interact with it, right? They don't have to write on it, they're just clicking on these sticky tabs, right? You don't have to enter emails to share. I did share this with a link, and I'll show you that in a second. I have a slide to kind of explain with that. So if I'm doing it live, right, I would give them the link. I can give them their name stickies. You have to recreate every time. Oh, Alyssa, you're thinking like an elementary school teacher. Let me wrap your head around that. I don't want to do the same work over and over. Call me a little lazy, but I want to work smarter than harder. So I created a master Jamboard, and it just has the sticky tabs. And then every time I go to do something with those pre-K kids, I just go file, make a copy, and start with the sticky tabs already on there, right? Because I don't want to start from scratch every time. So yeah, that's a great idea. Someone mentioned some things about SEL. I'll show you an example of that. I can show my screen. How does it work with Zoom? Well, I can present it, and when they click on the link, it would take them to a browser, right? Love make a copy because we don't want to do the same work over and over again. Smarter, not harder. I'm going to jump over to frame 3, and right here we talked about that SEL check, right? So hopefully my friends can join me and they can say, how are you feeling today? And maybe before we do that, we might just talk about those faces. I noticed the one up here, you know, she's smiling. What are some words that we might use to describe that? And we could just have that conversation about feelings. Oh, what about that guy? He's got his hands on his face. What are some feelings you think he's having right now? What am I? So there's a great opportunity to just have a conversation. And then I could say like that, I'd be like, hey guys, will you go ahead, hey friends, will you go ahead and tell me how you feeling today? And they can grab a check mark. And they can slide it there. Oh, Patton's feeling happy. She said she decided to go ahead and use a sticky. Or you can go ahead and get a check mark. Maybe I don't want them to put their name on it. Maybe kids don't feel like they're ready to share out loud, and they just want to slide the sticky over. Either way would be a good activity where students can do that. How do students add Jamboard to their devices? Well, parents have a Chrome extension. So it's just it's like a Google Doc, right? This isn't an extra program. Now on a mobile device, like an Android tablet or an iPad, it is a separate app download, but here it is just a it's web-based, right? So they just open it in the Chrome browser. Phone friendly as well, absolutely. I see that guest friend is I'm curious who my guest friend is there because they seem to be quite knowledgeable. I have a feeling I know who that person guest is. Thank you for being so helpful there in the chat, right? Where does the check mark come from? I'll show you that in just a minute. Where did I get those check marks? It is something I can insert there, right? Let me keep going. So this is an important one, and I'll tell you the right answer in a little bit. I can do things like vote for your favorite ice cream. And if anyone chooses the green one, I'll let you know. I don't understand why people like to eat frozen toothpaste, but that's just me. Mint chip isn't my thing, but I could have them, whatever it is. I could have that vote. Let's get to some more serious academics. Susan, are you going to talk about standards now? Yes, let's talk about some early literacy standards. Here we go. I have a laser pointer. What? I have a laser pointer, and I can talk about this in this sense. I could say, k, at. Will you say those sounds with me? K, at. Let's put it all together. Cat, right? So what a fun little activity that I could do as part of my live or small group instruction, right? Good way to do that. Next frame, I'm going to come over here. Oh my goodness, what fun can we do? How can we use Google Jamboard this way? So here I go. I'll grab my pointer, and I'm going to spell a word. Same thing. I have my IG words. I can sound it out, but then I can call on a friend. Hey, Patton, will you spell an IG word for me? So again, I might preface that with my young learners. I might say, guys, don't click on anything yet. Wait till I call on you, because it is a different kind of classroom management. I might have Patton come over and make an IG word, and I can go through and see, oh, she's over on frame 5. Hey, Patty, will you come on over to frame 6 and join us? On my teacher view, I can actually see here that little icon shows me who's on there. There's Kansas, there's Patton, and I can see that my daughters are here and they're on the correct frames. It shows me where they are. So here we go. And this would be good for really anything. I'll go into some more complex. We'll talk about some text annotation for that 3rd grade friend in just a minute, right? Here we go. Let's keep going. Next frame, people asked, how did you do that? How did you create that activity? It starts as a blank slate. I notice here I have some tools on my toolbar. One thing would be that cat. I just searched for a cat icon using the mountain icon. This is a very familiar, if you're from the Googleverse, Google search, and I do a Google image search right within it. I searched for cat, and I tend to say clip art or something because I have in mind that I want something that's more cartoony, so I might say clip art. I also use this phrase, PNG. It's a file type. What I want is something that's cut out. You know the difference between something has a background and something that's cut out? So I'm going to go ahead and put PNG. Cat clip art PNG, and that would let me go ahead and put my kitty cat on there. How do I get the letter tiles? Well, it's just the same sticky note we used earlier. So if I put a single letter on there, I can do that, and I can start adding the different letters. So I'm just going to keep building them, and now I'm going to switch colors and put this here, H. So you can see I'm just creating them, and I can move them over. Open, my friends are in here helping me out right away. How awesome are you guys doing some early literacy tests? I could have them write. If I want to go into sentences and punctuation, you can see here I have a whole bunch of words. I could unscramble, let them choose the correct punctuation, place the punctuation, right? The Catherine Snyder, let me tell you, the lowercase a, kindergarten teacher, I know, it's real life. Absolutely, unfortunately, cannot change the font in Jamboard yet. Some of those questions that start getting asked, can you make it bigger? Can you make it smaller? Can you change the font? One thing it's very simple. It's very lightweight. It's very portable. One thing I love about it is how simple it is. And then some people start feeling frustrated. Well, why can't it do this? Why can't it do this? If you want those features, slides. Slides is so robust, right? You can do all those things. This is just a little lightweight version of that. Okay, here we go. Tell me who has to do text annotation, who likes to do text annotation, who struggles with digital text annotation. Here we go. This is a screenshot, ka-chink, of some text for my curriculum. When I bring it up here, I can show, and maybe I have some purpose for my reading, right? Here I go. We read the text once, and now we want to be looking for, we're talking about dialogue, so I want to look for some quotations. So I'm going to go over here and grab my highlighter, and I'll click on my highlighter, and I can say, okay, use the highlighter to mark the sentence. Cool, jump in, awesome. And now here's question, say, yeah, Susan, you're doing the work, but what if I want the kids to do the work? Of course, I can call on one of my friends to join me on frame 10 and say, okay, Kansas, will you go ahead and highlight a sentence? But wait, there's more, right? You ready for this? What if I told you? What if I told you that I could take this Jamboard, this single Jamboard. Right now, I have one Jamboard, and it's collaborative. We're all writing on it. Me and my friends here, which could be all of my students, all of my friends are working on the exact same board. What if I told you I could take this Jamboard and I can use that magic button in Google Classroom and say, you get a Jamboard and you get a Jamboard and you get a Jamboard, and I can take it and I can distribute it to each learner. Everybody gets their own copy, just like I might do with a Google Doc or a Google Slide, right? The features of Google Classroom that allow me to distribute one of these to each of my learners work in Jamboard too. Yep, for reals, right? So I have them here. I can see, again, we can do that. Let's go a little bit. Let's talk about language learners. Right now, in the chat, right now we are looking at one collaborative. Emily asked, is this one collaborative document? Yes, this is one. Right now, we're doing it collaboratively. I have all of my learners in one document. It doesn't have to be that way. If I want to do it live during my Google Meet or during my Zoom, I give them the link, they jump in, we can work collaboratively. If I want them to work on it asynchronously, right, because together we're working on it with a link, if I want to do it asynchronously, I post it to wherever I post links for my kids. Maybe that is Google Classroom or some other LMS that distributes different copies. But I look at this photo here, and I say, tell me some words that describe who is in this picture. Go ahead, in the chat right now, please tell me who is in this picture. Where do they access the link, Heather Owens? I can drop the link right into the chat, just like you guys are right now. Absolutely. I know I see a lot of questions. I'm sorry if I'm not getting to them. I know there's a lot of bodies there, but if you put it back up when in a slow time, I'll try to grab it, right? So kids, I see you guys. Who's the who? Soccer players, boys, girls, soccer players. Absolutely. Okay. Now I'm going to switch gears. I would love it if you could tell me actions. What are some verbs that describe, oh, thank you, Patty. What are some verbs that describe what you see going on here, right? Okay, so I can do a brainstorm there. What are some verbs, some actions that describe this? Got it, playing, running. And now, tell me more. What are some other things that you see? Tell me more. Tell me more. What else do you see? So I know who, I know what they're doing. Tell me more. In the grass, red shirts, playing with a ball. So I have some collaborators helping me out there, right? Love it. Awesome. Look at all of that. You guys are fabulous. What if I now said, make a sentence, okay? Compose a complete sentence to describe this photo. Compose a complete sentence that describes this photo. Oh, there we go, right? Girls and boys are playing soccer in the park, right? The two teams are trying hard to win the championship, right? There are two girls wearing red shirts playing soccer, right? So we can really work on expanding our sentences, right? Ooh, this sounds a little bit like maybe an LPAC task. Ooh, are we talking LPAC and standards? Susan, why are you doing this, right? This is real, true literacy tasks. If I want to develop and expand my sentences, I could start something like some kids might say, they play soccer, right? In an early, someone with emerging literacy or early or emerging language development, right, might say they play soccer. And we can work together to continue developing that sentence. The boys and girls are chasing the ball across the grassy field on a sunny day, right? And giving students opportunities to share that there. How cool is this? Yes, someone asked, do you make a copy for every student by giving it on Google Classroom? Yes. So 2 ways to do this. I could provide a link, right? Nope, thanks. Some kids are practicing soccer for the big game. I could provide a link live. So in my live lesson right now, synchronously, I get the link, and I'll go ahead and share that. I hit the share button. In my live lesson, I would hit the share button, and I would go there, and I would get the link. So let me go ahead and get the link. And I would change my sharing settings, and this is where you have to know a little bit about the Googleverse for me to know that I want to change it to who can access this. Well, I want it to be anyone with the link. But right now, if I were to go anyone with the link, let me see if I could zoom on this a little bit. Right now, anyone with the link would be a viewer. And if I do it that way, they would just be able to see my Jamboard. But really, I want to change that. I want to make it so that anyone with the link is an editor. That is how I could do that live. Now, again, 50 people, if I were to put this link in the chat for you guys right now, oh my goodness, it would blow up. I'd probably crash it. However, with your class of 25 or 32, you could copy that link, go drop it in the chat or whatever live synchronous tool you're using, and you can have it right there. So I would post the link to the chat box. Absolutely, Judy Barton. I would post that right there to the chat box. One way to do it would be to do that. Now, do students need to be logged into their Google accounts to be able to do that? Actually, no. If you are in a situation where kids don't have access to their Google accounts, they don't have to be able to. They could just click on it right there. Does it spell check? It will give a squiggle, but they have to know to change the squiggle, right? Does it work with Seesaw? I would tell you that one difference, it doesn't work with Seesaw. They're not necessarily side by side. Could I provide the link through Seesaw? Absolutely. Seesaw and this have very similar features. The one thing that Seesaw doesn't do is allow me to work synchronously at the same time in the same board. So just know that. Does it work with Teams? Absolutely. You would just provide the link into the chat of whatever synchronous tool you're using. So yep. So they can, and they absolutely can flip around. So remember how I said I noticed that my friends, I can see there who's on which page. Let me bring this down and bring this up. And I'll do that. Let's see here. Let me just switch over. Let me refresh this. Right there we go. So when I look at this and I get in there, I can see that both of my friends are hanging out in slide 11. And actually, if you have all your students, they would all be lined up there. You would see their icon, but I would be able to tell. I'm like, hey, Kansas, page 11. Join us, and I would be able to see live, but I can't stop them from that. Now there are tools that allow them to do that, right? But if they're not logged into their Google account, I wouldn't be able to see who it is. You know how sometimes you're in the Googleverse and it's like the little anonymous animal? If they're not signed into a Google account, they're anonymous animals, right? Absolutely, yep, you can see. They're writing some sentences for sure. They wouldn't, if they weren't logged in, that would happen. Okay guys, oh my gosh, Google Jamboard, are you ready? Is it exciting? Let me show you a few more things. When you get this resource at the end, someone asked, I saw that, like, where do I get more, Susan? How do I get these? Is there a library of them? I'll tell you, there are some people on the Twitterverse, right, who have shared a number. I know I saw one that was like, Math Reps, my friend Lisa Nowakowski. Let me shout out to Lisa Nowakowski and Math Reps. She made a bunch of Jamboards specifically for repetitive math things. And so those fluency builders, math fluency builders, she made a bunch of them, shared out on the internet. Chris Shiner, who is a tech coach in the Midwest. He created a bunch. I actually have a blog post I'll show you soon where you can find a blog post, and I have one that's almost done. And my blog post is 50 ways to use Jamboard in the K2 classroom with links that you can click on. I'm on about 47, so that's coming, right? So lots and lots and lots of potential here. You see all these samples though. When you get this resource, all of these, they're yours. When you get this link later, you'll be able to go ahead and click on this, and you can see this is a simple phonics sort. Initial consonant, sort the things that start with M, sort the things with B. This is a silent E activity. Here I have the initial consonant digraph activity. So these are all different activities I could do during my phonics instruction, right? So cool. Different ways to do that. You can see who's who by hovering over, right? You can see whose note it is. Only when they're live. There is no version history. So if you're familiar with the Googleverse, you know about revision history and version history. There is no version history. So this is something you want to do synchronously. You don't want to leave it open to edit when you're not working with them actively because they'll do it. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. Oh my gosh, guys, so much to do. This is a student created. The second graders, they had a task and they were asked to share something that they created, a student Jamboard that they created. And what I love about all of these, about these particular ones, is that the task was who inspires you? Who inspires you? And they're all different. I love when I can assign something to students and the product they create looks very different from student. They were doing some brainstorming as a pre-write activity. Who is someone who inspires you? So I love that they all look very different. Here's some student content they could do. Awesome possum. Few tips. Remember, when you get this resource, there's lots of tips here you can come back to. You can use transparent stickies. Someone asked about my check marks during there. I used a sticky. Remember how I could change the color of the sticky? I made it transparent. So that's how I got the check mark on there. If I need a lot of something, like I want a lot of pennies or I want a lot of check marks, I can use Control D. Do you know that about the Googleverse? Control D, 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 D. I get a lot of the same thing. I can duplicate a bunch of things all at once by using Control or Command D, of course, if you're on a Mac. Know that there's some really basic tools. It is simple and collaborative. Seesaw. Let me tell you a story about Seesaw. I love Seesaw. Rewind about 3 years ago when people would talk about Seesaw, I'd be like, la, 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 Team Google. But then I found Seesaw and I fell in love. Some people say Google, Seesaw, Google, Seesaw. I say both. In my opinion, there really is room for both. Now, you're not going to start with both on day one. On day one, you're going to want to make sure that you take the time to learn the tools one at a time. Don't throw all 40 tools of them on the first day, especially in this remote situation potentially where you're not actually meeting with your kids. Think of one tool at a time. Don't try to do it all, but can they do it all? Absolutely, right? There is room for both. Phew. How do I share my Jamboards? Quick summary, share directly. How did Kansas and Patton, my daughters, were they able to? I shared directly. That way you share in Google where you share and someone is a collaborator. So one way to do it is as direct sharing. I can share with a link. That's how we would normally share with students in a live synchronous situation. I would grab that editable link, go over to the chat box of the tool we're using live. And yeah, that is a learning curve, teaching them how to go over to another window, but they can work while they're live with you. They don't have to be live in the meeting. They can just hear you and be like, okay, now click on this one. It takes some practice. Can they do it? Absolutely. And then let's scoot on over to, of course, the thing here. We say, I have a couple people saying that they can't see the slides, and I'm wondering about that. The slides got small. Let me stop and see if I can fix that. Let me just fix that. Here we go. There. I'm going to stop my share. There we go. I'm going to try one more time just to fix that in case someone's, I don't know what would have changed there. But let me go ahead and just see if this makes sure if anyone did have that problem. Are we good? Better now? Cool. Awesome. I don't know why that happened, but we're all good now. Fabulous. Let's take an important break, right? Okay, here we go. This is a super important break. I need your help collecting some data. Very, very important data. Here we go. Important data. Let me click here in the chat. Now, you guys, I'll post it about 4 times. Here is some data I need you to click. Will you please click on the link, cast your vote, and then come on back over to Zoom. So click on the link, cast your vote, and come on back. I'll put it a couple times. Click on this link. It might open you in a new tab, and that's practicing what your kids would practice, right? Having to navigate between resources. So let's go ahead. I'm putting a link in the chat. I'll put it a couple times. It says Susan's K3 form right there in the chat, right here in the chat. Oh, you know what? You know why? Because I'm only giving it to the panelists. You'd think that I'd done this a time or two. There we go. Here it is. Here it goes. There's the chat. There you go. Click on the link. Cast your vote. There it is. Check right there. All panelists and attendees. Oh, come on. Hey. Got it? There we go. There's a little drop-down menu. There we go. It's really tiny. No, it's there. I think you just scroll right there. All panelists and attendees can see the link. I'll put it a bunch of times. There we go. Click on the link. Cast your vote, and then come on back. Thank you for that. Thank you. There we go. Click on the link. So the tool you're using right now is a Google form. And again, same thing. You might get a little note that says all the kids are trying to walk through the door at the same time. If I give this to 1,000 people at once and everybody clicks it, right? Sometimes if all your kids are trying to walk through the door at the same time, same things happens in Google sometimes. And if everybody clicks on a link in the exact same moment, sometimes it can be a little bit chaotic. We don't normally do, like, this isn't a natural situation with 1,000 people in here. So here we go. Here we go. One more, like maybe 15 more seconds. Again, super duper important data collection right now. Click on the link, cast your vote. Let's talk about this right here. Here in my Google form, you guys just filled out a Google form. One thing I notice is that I don't have to know the word chocolate, right? Even if I'm a pre-K, TK learner, I don't have to know the word chocolate, right? To know that the brown one is my favorite. So even if I'm pre-literate, I know that. Again, I don't have to know the word mint to know that I'm not into frozen toothpaste. Not my style. However, I did give you that. So one thing I love about Google Forms, wait, is this a Google form? Yes, it's a Google form, but it's so cute. Yep, right? I can click on the link and send it right in the chat. Same thing, in my live synchronous meeting, I can do a quick bit of data. Now, I bet that you guys are sitting at the edge of your seats and you want to know who won. Your kids would do the same thing. So I'm clicking on the link here. And so some of you might struggle because what it does, it opens in your browser. So if you're clicking it a bunch of times, it might be opening it in a browser in another space. So I'm going to exit out of there real quick. And I know that you guys want to know. You want to know what's going on here. What are the results? Who's winning? So I'm going to go ahead and go to my teacher view of this Google form. And I see that I have 695 responses. Let's see, right? Now in a normal classroom, that might be about 25. So I can go ahead and just go here. I could click, and I'm going to click the responses. And we see, of course, always what just happened. Frozen toothpaste wins all the time. So here we have that. I love that I can do immediate data, right? And not only is this data, the kids are invested in these numbers because they helped create them. So I can talk about, if it's just 20 kids, which one has the most, which one has the least, how many more than, greater than, less than, all of these conversations I can have. And normally this would probably be numbers within 25. So if you're talking about K1, 2, numbers within 25 would probably be really good information. So synchronously, I can use a Google form. Right now, live, like this, we can all be doing this. And I wouldn't normally have these large numbers, but again, I could use this data and the kids are into it because they made the numbers. So one way I can use Google Forms synchronously is just like this. I created the thing. I did images as answer options, right? I'll show you. I've got a present for you in just a minute. I promise there's going to be a really cool present. So here we are in this. So let's keep going. Let's keep going here. I am going to go back to my presentation, of course. I'm going to show you another version though. So another way I use Google Forms. Now we've all used Google Forms, right? You probably fill out a form to get here sometimes. You fill out Google Forms all the time. Now, I love Google Forms as a literacy tool. Right? For my 5-year-olds? Yep. Let's talk about how we could use this for creating digital listening centers. Here we are in a Google form. Now, even if I'm, again, 4 or 5 pre-literate, I know what that button does, right? They know what that button does. In this example, I have embedded. I know that's a fancy word. Don't worry. I'll have your back in just a minute. But I have embedded a YouTube video into my Google form. Question comes up, what if YouTube's blocked? Sorry, can't help you with that one. However, right now, this feature is only for hosted YouTube videos. So I'll tell you though, Google's ever evolving, and it wasn't too long ago that you could only put YouTube videos in Google Slides, and now you can get videos from your Drive and YouTube. So I have hope that it doesn't always have to be a YouTube video. Currently, it has to be a YouTube video, and it can't be like, here's the thing. You don't have to use something like Safe YouTube here. Here's why. When I hit play, it plays right here in the screen. What do you notice? It doesn't open up over to a new window. It doesn't send them to YouTube. I love YouTube. I don't like sending 7-year-olds to YouTube because there are too many places to click, right? So I'm able to play the video embedded in my Google form. Why would I do that? We know the value of learners, English learners, early learners, everyone in developing language, developing vocabulary. They need to hear text read aloud. The word gap, we know kids hearing the language, someone reading them, singing to them. I love reading books to my kids, but right now I am not there to read with them. How do I make sure that they're getting quality literature read by a fluent model to help continue that important vocabulary development? Here's one idea, right? So just wait, there's more. So here I go. I have my YouTube video. I like it Jamie, because it's playing in there. Again, we talk about sending kids on an adventure. I don't want them going to too many tabs, right? Too many tabs is not ideal when you're talking about early learners. So I love that it plays right here on the screen. As I scroll, I have, what is your name? Okay, if I'm 5, 6, 7, That's a reasonable question to ask them. And teaching kids, let's teach them the shift key, right? Foundational skill we could teach them. So far, I've asked them to hit a YouTube video. They got that, right? Type their name. This is a reasonable request too. As I continue on, I see here, says, do you like this book? And someone just said a mention, you know what, I want to go back to that. Someone just talked about copyright compliant. There's a real thing in making sure you're aware of what you have rights to share. Here's the right answer. If you record a video of you reading it aloud, you are absolutely 100% in no way, shape, or form going to be in trouble for reading anybody's book aloud. You as a teacher are allowed to post books of you to share to your students. So just so you know that if there's a question about that, if you record the video of you reading, even better. But there are ways to find out what those are. So sometimes you go to what's the website with the famous people reading the books? Oh my gosh, it's fallen out of my brain. Come on, I know you guys got me. Storyline Online books. We know that we have, like, there are examples of those, and I can do that. Now, could I just send them to Storyline Online? Absolutely. But the cool thing about doing it this way is that I have this accountability piece, right? Type your name. And again, even if I have pre-literate students, do you like this book, right? Happy face emoji, sad face emoji, right? Happy face emoji, sad face emoji. They don't have to understand the words to know. Thumbs up, I like it. Thumbs down, maybe I'll use a thumbs up, thumbs down. Now, if I have students who are maybe in grade 2, grade 3, students that I have a higher expectation for what they're capable of right there, I could go do this right here. It says, Jamie was very lazy and did not have good work ethic. How can you show work ethic at school or at home? So here in this box, I can type my answer. If I'm in 2nd grade or 3rd grade, if I'm 1st grade and I have an iPad, I can always use the speech to text. But now they're making that text to self connection, right? Can I add a text to self connection? So depending on the age of my learners, I might keep it at that. Pre-K, K, early in 1, happy face emoji, I'm good. They listen to the book, they type their name, they cast a vote. I have a little tiny bit of accountability, right? And here we're good, right? And now going a little further, if I have students that I want to make summarize, tell about a character, tell about a time when, anything I want to do, I can have that thing. Oh my gosh, so many ideas. I have a kindergarten team that uses Google Forms for everything. You guys know Jack Hartman, right? We love Jack Hartman. Same things. Some questions get asked, and I see that. How can I embed audio? Know that there are add-ons, like if you have Read Write for Google, there's some different things that can make those read aloud, the questions read aloud. It's not a default feature. There's no way for me to hit a button and have the question read aloud to the student. However, there are ways to do that. I tend to just keep it simple enough that they don't need to have them read aloud, right? Happy face emoji, sad face emoji, keep it straight. Susan, how do I do it? Please teach me how. Susan, please teach me how. I can't teach you how right now, right? We only have 14 minutes left and I still have some more to share. Wait, oh my gosh. Right here though, here's a present for you. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a Google Forms digital listening center. 5-minute video will walk you through step by step how to do it, right? 5-minute video will walk you through how to do that. So if you are interested in creating those Google Forms with the embedded video, with the images as answer option, right there, there's a quick little video, 5 minutes, will teach you all the steps. The cool thing about videos like that is you can watch it for 30 seconds, press pause, go do it, watch it, right? So there we go. Oh my gosh. I see questions say primarily Google.rocks. So I'll comment back up and it's on the last thing, but those of you know, primarily Google.rocks is the blog, and I'll get there to you as well. Where we go. How do I get the forms to kids? Same question. How do I share it? Now that I've made this great form, how do my learners access it? So what I can do is share it directly, just like that. I can put in their email address. That's one way. I can share with a link. If I wanted you to do that, I could grab that link and drop it in the chat live. Kind of how I did with you guys in that ice cream form, right? I just grab the link, bloop, drop it over into the chat. If I want to do it synchronously, that's a way I can do it. Now, if you're using Seesaw or if you're using Google Classroom, I can also take that link and post it asynchronously to one of those places, wherever I post things. If you're using a website, if you're using some kind of messaging app, I can grab that link, If your connection home is a class dojo or a parent square or a website, wherever I can put a link, I can put the Google form link. That means I can send forms to parents. Yep. Right? Lots of ways to do this. The 5-minute video, just so you know, that's a good question. It is hanging out on slide number, let me see.
This video.
It's hanging out on slide 20. I'll get you the resources as soon as we get there. We're going to wrap up before too long. So much to do. Oh my gosh, but we got to continue on or else we're going to run out of time, and I have 12 more minutes, right? Just want to make sure you have all of this here. Keep going. If you want to learn more about Google Forms, I've got plenty of resources for you there, but I really want to wrap it up and talk about Google Classroom. Google Classroom, of course, when we talk about forms or we talk about Jamboard, we need that delivery device. And in some ways, Google Classroom is that, right? Google Classroom is a delivery device. It takes whatever it is, and it's like the bulletin board, the one-stop shop where kids go to get information. One way to do it is with Google Classroom. Now, people have different ways to share things. I'm going to talk about why I think Google Classroom is the right tool, even with young learners, because sometimes there's this idea elementary kids should only use Seesaw, K-1-2, Seesaw, or maybe we have to use this LMS like a Canvas or a Schoology. Whatever tool you have is the right tool, right? So I'm not going to sit here to tell you that the only way to do this is Google Classroom, because typically whatever tool you have is the right tool. But just so you know, Google Classroom, it's not just for the big kids. Our young learners can use this too. Why do I need Google Classroom? I need Google Classroom because of games like this. My kids love games. I want to be able to make sure that they can play them, because a website like ABC, like this is for synonyms. We're practicing synonyms. It's a vocabulary development activity, right? It's a literacy. It's fun too. They get the ball, they throw it, it hits the thing. What happens if they get it right? Bling, 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 right? What happens if they get it wrong? Try again. Now let's think about that. If I had given them a worksheet with a list of two lists of words and they just had to draw lines to match synonyms, you have that worksheet in your file cabinet, so do I, right? That's what a synonym practice worksheet tends to look like. You have two lists of words and they have to match the synonyms. It's a very common practice. I have it. It's great. My curriculum probably gives me some of those too. By switching it over to a game like this, kids get immediate feedback. I throw the ball, bling, throw the ball, If I draw the line wrong on the worksheet, who is going to correct that? Right now in the era of COVID-19, I don't know how much passing of papers will happen even when we are face-to-face with kids. Let's be real, right? So just one reason I need Google Classroom, because it's my delivery device for this fun, engaging content, right? Asynchronously, they can do this. But wait, there's more. Okay, primary teachers, let's talk about Starfall, right? Who loves Starfall? I love Starfall, but again, there's a lot going on this screen, right? There is a lot here. And if I'm studying AtWords and I want kids to watch the AtWords game or play the AtWords video, I have to tell them how to get there. And if you've been to Starfall, you know, starfall.com, K-1-2, learn to read. There's a lot of clicks between my learners and that AtWords game. How does Google Classroom help me with this? I don't want my kids to have to go 4 clicks before they're at the activity. I want them to go straight to the right? I want them to get right there. So Google Classroom helps me because Google Classroom allows me to find this link, right? This link, this AtWord. Let's be real. If I want them to play AtWords, you know where they are? They're over on that pumpkin, right? They're over on that pumpkin. I can have them go directly there. This is a post in Google Classroom. Wait, that's Google Classroom? Yep. Oftentimes, people think that Google Classroom has to be just one resource at a time. And that causes problems because if all I do is just post more things to Google Classroom, it's this long, awful list and it's not easy to navigate, right? So if I package resources, for example, this is long val O, and all of these resources are related. So I make this nice little blended package that, you know, we're practicing long val O, we're practicing AtWords. I put all of these things together in one post. It's very visual. This is quite appropriate for my young learners. I can do this all together and I post it one post to Google Classroom. Instead of posting every app, every game, every activity, go do this, I package up a nice blended learning lesson that reinforces the skills, the phonics skills that we've been doing. Google Classroom is appropriate for young kids because it's a nice way to do this. Yes, they need to be logged into Google Classroom, but on the web, Starfall is free. If you're on an iPad, unfortunately, it is a freemium app. You guys know about those, freemium, but wait, there's more if you pay. On an iPad or mobile device, Starfall is a freemium, which means there's plenty of good free content. On the web, a lot more of it is free, just FYI. Yes, and I do direct link. I pick not just from Starfall to Google Classroom. I go to that very, you see right here, that very specific long val O activity. I grab the URL, the unique address to that activity, and I post that to Google Classroom. I don't post just starfall.com, right? I get the specific address and I paste it that way, all there. Yes, Starfall works well with Chromebooks, FYI. Awesome. Yes, and you can do that to Seesaw as well. One thing about Seesaw, in the newest version, if you've been using Seesaw like in the last 2 weeks, like literally the last 2 weeks, you can know that you can now do multiple links in Seesaw. You couldn't do that before. Now, right within your Seesaw canvas, not that this is a Seesaw presentation, but let you know, you can put multiple links into a Seesaw canvas now. Oh my gosh, super cool, right? Here we go. Let's keep going. Let's talk a little bit more about the Google Classroom part. When I use Google Classroom, sometimes I will organize it in a way where it's just like post after post after post. If you get more advanced into Google Classroom, you can use the topics feature. So I'm gonna get a little nerdy. And so this is for those people who are maybe have been using Google Classroom a little bit longer. But one frustration that people come across with Google Classroom is the fact that there are so many things. In Google Classroom, on the classwork tab, I can actually create these topics. So I say topics, and you see two examples of topics here. I can use the topic by date. So I create almost like a little folder for today, and then I can link just the things I need for today. When I do it that way, all of the things for today are in one space. Sometimes when people create their topics on their classwork tab, they'll do reading, and they'll do spelling, and then they'll do math. But the problem is, once I have 3 or 4 reading things, I'm doing a lot of scrolling to find what I need, right? If I create my topic by date, and I always put the newest one on top, today's work is right there on top, right? So knowing that in Google Classroom, I don't necessarily have to just have that long unorganized stream. I actually don't put anything on the stream. Everything goes on the classwork tab. Everything is set up as a topic. So just so you know, Google Classroom, there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. It doesn't have to be that long list of all the activities. There's a lot going on there. Google Classroom, guess what? This is one of my kindergarten teachers every day during distance learning in March and April and May. This is what kindergarten looked like. There were videos for learning. There were videos from YouTube, teacher created videos with Screencastify. They even did their PE videos. This was a day in kindergarten. Right here, a teacher would post her whole day, all of her resources in one post. Everything was just continuing to add new resources to the exact same post. Again, oftentimes people think just one post per Google Classroom post. You can package your resources together. Oh my gosh. YouTube, we talked about it. I love YouTube. I don't like sending kids here. Did you know that when you post a YouTube video in Google Classroom, when kids are on Chromebooks, this is what they see. Oh, but wait, this is a link to YouTube. Did you know I post a YouTube video into Google Classroom? It doesn't actually take the kids to YouTube. It plays in this overlay right on top of Google Classroom. So all the things we said about the embedded forms apply here too. So I can post YouTube content. It posts right on this page. It posts right on this page, pops right up. Kids can watch it, and then they can close it away, right? Lots going on, but it does help me give better access to YouTube. If you want to learn more about Google Classroom, I'm still going to point you at the Google Teacher Center, right? I can point you at the Google Teacher Center because there's a lot going on there. If you want to know more about just teaching reading online, I'll post these links in just a minute. As soon as I'm done talking, I'll stop talking in just a second, I promise. I'll post some of these links. This is a whole series I've done about teaching reading online. It's a 5-part series that talks about phonics, phonemic awareness, vocabulary development, fluency, and comprehension, right? Because those are the 5 pillars of early literacy. If you want resources for phonics, phonemic awareness, and not just googly ones. So this particular website has all of those, for Flipgrid, for Seesaw, all of those things. So this entire website is just about early literacy. And of course, my blog, primarylygoogle.rocks, right? Primarylygoogle.rocks. I'll get that in the chat in just a minute too. That's where my blog is. That's where all the information is. Everything is at primarylygoogle.rocks. So again, I'll get those links for you in just a second. But my name is Susan Stewart, Instructional Technology Coach. You can find me on the internet at Tech Coach Susan. Follow the hashtag K2Can2. Promise you there's some really good magic happening there right now. You'll learn a lot if you go to the hashtag K2Can2. Yeah, I know, Adam, you have a little bit more to share here, and I'm going to start popping some links in the chat if Adam's with us. Give him a sec. I know that there are some additional resources coming up. I'm going to put some links in the chat there. http:// let me get that. Primarylygoogle.rocks. Primarylygoogle.rocks. That's it. Is that right? There you go. There you go, Adam. Hi. Did you have anything else?
Yeah, I do. I just have to thank you so much. I was a little hesitant to touch my computer because it was getting a little freezy, and that was frankly terrifying. I mean, but watching just the engagement on the YouTube channel, the engagement in the chats with all of you supporting each other. I think, Susan, there was a very clear, resounding, we need to hear more from you. We need your support. That came up again and again. And so I just want to say we're so grateful for you joining us to share your expertise with, 1,500 of your closest colleagues. And, I just wanted to sort of highlight here, and I will pop for those of you that are wanting to document hours, the online events page has a link to the reflection you complete for that. It has a link to a session evaluation. If you want to hear more from Susan, please do fill out the evaluation and tell us that you need that. In addition to that, the online events page, we will put videos of all the sessions there the morning after they air. And finally, we have some great sessions coming up tomorrow. Susan, could you move over one more slide? Yes, some colleagues from the Sacramento County Office of Education are going to come and share some tools that you can use to help build the engagement and social emotional learning with your students. I have been working with them. The resources that they're going to share are incredible, including sort of some of the things you saw today around mapping language to these sort of interstates and emotions that we feel, namely the Yale Ruler tool. So lots of great stuff coming at us tomorrow. Again, Susan, thank you so much. This was amazing. We will be sure to share your slides and this video on the online event page. And thank you to everybody out in the audience. We are so grateful for you, and we hope to see you back here tomorrow. So thank you again. And with that, we are going to say goodbye for the day.